Hi, and welcome to the American Fiddle Method, Beginning Tunes and Techniques, Video 1. My name is Brian Wickland. It's my pleasure to be here. Playing the fiddle has been one of the greatest joys of my life, and I'm happy to share my knowledge and experience with you. This first video of my program has been designed for the beginning fiddle player and is to be used as a companion to my book, The American Fiddle Method, Volume 1. I have made this video to guide you through the parts of my program that can't be conveyed very well in a book format. I would like to teach you the shortcuts to learning the instrument and give you answers to common questions that have been asked by me by the hundreds of fiddle players that I've taught. I hope that this video is like a private lesson in your home. Since this video is a companion to the American Fiddle Method, Volume 1, I will assume that you have the book and audio CD available to work with. So that I can include as much information and tunes in this video as possible, I will play each of the tunes once and then give a few pointers following the tune. So I would recommend that you familiarize yourself with the tunes from the book and CD and use the video to watch my fingering and technique so that you can form good habits. Continue to use the book until you have memorized the tune, then practice playing along with the CD. You've picked a complicated instrument. I intend to cram in as much information into this video as possible. When I teach private lessons, it usually takes my students between 4 and 8 months to cover the material that's included in this video. So take your time, learn the techniques and tunes well, and don't rush through. You'll be a better fiddle player for it. When you have finished learning the tunes and techniques in this video, you'll be ready for the second video. To keep up to date with my new books, videos, recordings, and my workshop schedule, please visit my website at www.brianwickland.com. Well, let's start out by learning how to tune the instrument. There are a few things that you need to keep in mind so that your violin doesn't get damaged when you tune. There are only two ways that you can really hurt it. You can see that the pegs are wedge-shaped. In order for them to stay, you have to twist in as you're tuning. So you can damage your instrument if you're holding with your left hand or with the hand that's countering the pressure at the neck joint. And if you're pushing hard like this, you can see that it could weaken this neck joint. The other way you can damage it is to hear the note that you're tuning to, pluck it and turn it up without hearing the note as you're going up. If you just say, golly, I'm flat, and then turn it, the distance between being in tune and having a broken string is like an eighth of a turn. So whenever you're tuning, make sure that you always hear the pitch vibrating as you're tuning. So this is the pitch that I want to tune to. That's an A440. So I'm pushing in against my other hand, and I can hear the string vibrating. Then I'll finish off with the fine tuners. So that A is in tune. So you can use an electronic tuner, or you can get a pitch from me. And so I'll give you your pitch right now. Here's the A. Here's the D. And the G. And here's the E. In fiddle playing, you see a lot of different ways that people hold the instrument. You see some people will sit with their legs bent over and play with their wrist bent, and you might see some players hike up their position on the bow. And a lot of those players can play what they do really well, and it sounds great. However, classical violin technique has developed over 300 years as being the most efficient way to play the instrument. You'll be able, if you learn classical violin technique, you'll be able to play any kind of fiddle music, or classical music for that matter, and you won't be limited by your technique. Let's start with the bow position first. The whole idea of the position is to have your wrist bend in the way that is most natural for it. Like this, your wrist bends like a hinge. Like this, it doesn't bend so well. The whole attitude of the bow will be very slanted to open up that hinge in your wrist so that as you play, you can use your wrist when you bow. And then also allowing your fingers to be supple and bent and not locked is an important aspect of this bow technique as well. You can start by either putting your thumb underneath the frog on the silver ring, or the way I do it and most classical violinists do is bending the thumb and putting it right just in that notch, just ahead of the ring. And notice my fingernail is facing away from me. I can feel the hair of the bow against the cuticle of my thumb. Then my fingers come and they drape over the top like this. The tip of my pinky goes over the end of the frog. You can see here's the end of the frog. My pinky's above it. It's not on the screw, but it's right here above the end of the frog. And then also notice that on my index finger, the bow is between this joint and this joint. It's right along there, rather than being like this or too far over the top like this. Just about like that. Then this knuckle I have lower than this joint. And that really slants my hand quite a bit. And you can see that none of my fingers are locked. They're all slightly bent. Let's talk about how tight to make the bow. The old bows, 300 years ago, the Baroque bows, actually had the bow angled this way. And somebody got the great idea of reversing the camber so that it was this way. Those old Baroque bows were very, very bouncy and really difficult to use. And so by having the camber reversed, it made it much less bouncy and much more easy to control. So when you store your bow, you will need to have your hairs loosened. Then when it's time to play, you will tighten it up to about that point, where still there's quite a bit of bow in the bow. It's not straight, and it sure doesn't bow this way, but there's still some nice camber in it. Every bow's a little bit different, but yours should look about like this. Now let's move on to how you hold the fiddle. Generally, you want to have a straight back and almost a puffed up chest. That will make it so that when you place the violin on your shoulder, that it will be generally flat. If you have a collapsed back, then when you bow on the E string, you're liable to bump into your leg, and then you have to twist your body like this, and then before you know it, you're crossing your legs like this and hiking up on the bow. And so you want to have a straight back when you start. And your violin will sit on your shoulder or your collarbone here, and will be generally slightly angled this way, and then flat this way, parallel to the ground that way, not sticking up or slouching down. And the feeling you want is a very open chest feeling, rather than like this. Then the left hand technique is probably the most difficult for beginning fiddle players to learn. Everybody wants to cradle the neck in their hand like this, but there are some big disadvantages to doing that. One of them is when you put your fingers down, you're using the pads of your fingers, which are squishy. They have a lot of flesh until you get to the bone, which is the hard part. So the notes that you play are indistinct, and it's more difficult to play them in tune. So by having your wrist straight, you're using the very tips of your fingers where the bone is very close to the skin, and so you'll have a really good contact. Notice that my thumb is just peeking up over the top of the side of the neck. Some people like to imagine that this is like a rising sun on the horizon, just sticking up over, not sticking up like this, just coming up over the top of the horizon. And then notice that there's a little hole right here. There's a big gap. I'm not letting the violin neck sit in the bottom of the V of my thumb and finger, just like that. And notice my wrist is straight. This angle right here is straight, and this angle here right is straight, as opposed to being bent like this or bent like that. Also notice the palm of my hand is generally pointing towards my face, or even turned in a little bit. Then my fingers curl and hang over the string. Now let's do some beginning bowing exercises. First off, we'll place the bow on what is often called the highway, which is the middle point between the bridge and the end of the fingerboard. The tone is best there. It's a combination of being loud and also rich. If your bow is too close to the bridge, it has a skaty, nasally sound. And if it's too close to the fingerboard, it has a warbly sound. Right dead center is where the best tone is. So now let's take a look at the right arm and the bow hand and how that all works together. You want to have the best sounding tone, you want to have your bow at a 90-degree angle to the string. And it's very difficult to perceive this from your angle because you're not looking at the string straight on, you're looking at it from the side. So one of the important parts of bowing is learning what is truly a right angle, even though it may not appear that way. Using a mirror is very helpful. So notice how my bow will be a right angle from the frog to the tip. In order to do this right angle, your bow arm wrist will go from this position, which is kind of like the praying mantis position, somewhat bent like that, to on the bottom, I think of it as being a triangle, where my elbow is fairly straight and I'm quite extended, and that's a right angle there. So from the praying mantis position, get your right angle, and then go down to the triangle. Now if your wrist is stiff, then you'll have this happening. My elbow is traveling the whole time, doing a big sawing. Instead, keep your wrist bending the whole time. That motion. Then the E string. And then each one of these strings has a looks different from your vantage point as to what is 90 degrees. So you'll probably be 90 degrees on the D string pretty easily. Notice that my bow is slightly tilted forward. The stick is not straight up above the hair, nor is it tilting backwards, but it's tilting slightly forward, and it brings my hand up and over on top of the bow. That allows me to use the natural weight of my arm to pull out good tone. So as I play, you'll notice that the stick of the bow never crosses over the hair. I'm not crossing over like that. Sting. Let's talk about getting good volume and good tone with your bow now. There are two continuums. There is the weight continuum, the amount of weight that you apply to the string with your bow, and there is also the speed continuum, and that's how fast you're pulling your bow across the string. If one speed is as slow as you can go, and 10 is as fast as you can go, then with the weight continuum, if 1 is as light as you can play and 10 is really cranking down hard, any one of those continuums, any one of those numbers can sound terrific if it's paired with the same number of the other continuum. For instance, a 1 weight and a 1 speed can sound good. It's very quiet. Or a 10 speed and a 10 weight can sound good. It's just really loud. Now, I usually play about anywhere between 4s and 8s when I play. If one common thing that I hear is playing with maybe a 2 weight and a 6 speed, that'll sound like this. Wispy and skatey sounding. Sometimes I also hear playing with too heavy a bow and too slow a speed, like I'll play the other way around, like a 6 weight and a 2 speed. So again, I like to play about 4s or to 8s. So I'll demonstrate here. Here's 4s. So here are 2 8s, 8 weight and 8 speed. Now let's do some fingering exercises. Remember, as we mentioned before, the first finger should go down in what I call a mirror position, so that if the first fingernail were a mirror, you would be able to see the reflection of your face in it. So it's very much upright. You'll need to make sure that you have clipped your fingernails before you do this. So we will start with the open A, and we'll do an A scale. Here's A. First finger. Open. Now second finger on the C sharp. Third finger, second, third. Notice how the second finger and the third finger are squished together. Second, third. Now let's go to the E string. Same thing, open. First. Open. First. Second. First. Second. And third, squish the third against the second. Second. Squish. Second. First. Open. Now let's do a full A scale. E. Descending. Now let's do a D scale. Start with your open D. First. Second. Third. Open A. descending. All three fingers down. Now a G scale, starting on the open G. Open D. All three fingers on the G string. Now I'd like to teach you some ways to play in tune. Here's a helpful hint. Anytime you're fingering a note on your instrument that has an equivalent open string, that open string will ring sympathetically when you're playing exactly in tune. For instance, if I'm playing a first finger on the G string, that note is an A, and the open A string will resonate sympathetically when it's perfectly played in tune. Now if I play that a little flat, there's no resonance. First finger on the D string is an E note, so the E will resonate sympathetically when that's in tune. When it's a little flat or sharp, nothing. Also, third fingers, for instance, third finger on the E string, or third finger on the D string, or third finger on the, third finger on the E string, third finger on the A string, third finger on the D string will resonate sympathetically when they're played perfectly in tune. So here's third finger on the E, that's a little flat. That's right on. 3 on the A, that's a D note. A little out of tune. Nothing. Then third finger on the D string. A little out of tune. No resonance. Great, let me talk a little bit about Boil 'em Cabbage Down. The principal bow stroke is, which is road runner, road runner, road runner, road, or down pony up, pony down, pony, or 1, end of 2, end of 3, end of 4. And so it starts with the second finger. There's 2 road runners for each one. Road runner, road runner, road runner, road runner. Then here, 1 road runner, road runner, road runner, road runner, road. And on the second part, first finger on the D string, leave your first finger down almost till the very end, and only then will you lift it up. So first finger stays. Even here, leave it on the D string and back. Then switch your fingers. Let's talk about shortened bread just a little bit. Now's a good time to talk about efficient fingering. Basically, you want to be able to start establishing habits that allow you to play anything quickly and efficiently without any wasted effort. The general rule is, as you're ascending the scale, leave your fingers down. As you're descending the scale, you'll play one note at a time. That's the most efficient way to finger. So in shortened bread, I'm playing one finger at a time, starting with the 3 and the 1. Now here, I'm ascending the scale, so I leave my first finger down. Instead of pulling it up, that would be an extra motion. You can see how that's wasteful energy. So instead, leave it down by itself. By itself. Let's talk about Cripple Creek. There are lots of opportunities for efficient fingering here, starting with the 3rd finger all by itself, then the 2, and you'll leave the 2 because you're ascending as you play the 3. Then this 1st finger, when it goes over to the E string, make sure that the 1st finger is in the upright mirror position instead of... It's really easy to do as a beginner, but make sure it's going in there straight. Lift and put down. And leave your 1st finger down. And leave it. Great. Let's talk about Angelina Baker a little bit. That string change is nasty for some beginners. Keep your bow short as you're making the string change. That'll help a lot. Also on the B part, there are some spots where you can leave your fingers down to play efficiently. Like there, you'll leave your first finger down. And on Buffalo Gals, one spot to watch out for is here, open, 3, 1, then have your first finger continue to stay upright and lift over to the E string. So continue to have the mirror position there. It's very tempting to want to go. So watch out for that. Now let's add the fourth finger. Notice the distance from the third finger to the fourth finger is a whole step. I try to use as much of the tip of the fourth finger as possible. If you use the pad, again, it'll sound mushy and indistinct. And the tip is easier to get in tune. So that note there is an E, and it should be the same as open E on the E string. And on the E string, big stretch. So here's the fourth finger. And in this section, keep your first finger down as you pivot from the E string to the A string. Instead of, that would be an extra motion that you'd waste. Great, let's talk about Angelina Baker a little bit. That string change is nasty for some beginners. Let's talk about how you can work that in. Keep your bow short as you're making the string change. That'll help a lot. Also on the B part, there are some spots where you can leave your fingers down to play efficiently. Like there, you'll leave your first finger down. And on Buffalo Gals, one spot to watch out for is here, open, 3, 1. Then have your first finger continue to stay upright and lift over to the E string. So continue to have the mirror position there. It's very tempting to want to go. So watch out for that. Now let's add the fourth finger. Notice the distance from the third finger to the fourth finger is a whole step. I try to use as much of the tip of the fourth finger as possible. If you use the pad, again, it'll sound mushy and indistinct. And the tip is easier to get in tune. So, that note there is an E, and it should be the same as open E on the E string. And on the E string, big stretch. So here's the fourth finger. And in this section, keep your first finger down as you pivot from the E string to the A string. Instead of, that would be an extra motion that you'd waste. Now I'd like to talk about the low second finger position. Between the first finger and the high second finger is a note. That's the low second finger position. Let's practice that a little bit. Play. With the high second finger, then play the high. on the low. Good, now we'll use the third finger too. So the open, first, and third will remain the same. And now we'll be using the low second finger. Here, make sure that the third finger is high enough and that the first finger remains in the mirror position. Notice there's a little gap between the first finger and the second. They're not mashed together, but just a little bit of a gap. This third finger will feel like you're stretching really high when you're in tune, but it's exactly where you've had it before when you played the high second finger. Now with Old Joe Clark, there are a few places where we have pivot notes too. There it makes the most sense to leave your first finger down on the A string and reach over for the third on the D and leaving it. Otherwise you're wasting an extra motion there. The tricky part is in the B part and getting the spacing just right between the low second finger and the third finger. And the high second finger, making sure that's in tune. Good, let's talk about Airboat Song a little bit. The A part is pretty straightforward, and the B part, we have a low second finger at the top of a descending line. It's kind of tricky. There's a pivot first finger. As you're playing this line, make sure this first finger doesn't squish out. You keep the mirror first finger. And the pivot. A common variation in fiddling is playing two strings at once. It's a quintessential fiddle sound. Used in a lot of fiddling. What I'd like to do is teach you how you can do that. A lot of it has to do with finger placement and getting the right angle with your bow. When I'm playing one string at a time, the string makes a mark in the very center of my finger. However, if I play drones, if I'm playing two strings at once with my finger placed right dead center of the string, then the side of my finger can touch that open string that's next to it, and you'll have a sound like this. Not very pleasant. Or if you're joining the D and the A, you have kind of a buzzy sound. So you change the placement of your finger on the string depending on which string you're droning. So for instance, if I'm going to play, right now my first finger's on the A string. If I'm going to play an open D note with that, I now have to scoot my finger over a little bit away from the D string. Although I might be touching the E, it's not a problem because I'm not playing that string. So now the mark that I get on my finger is right here. Great. Now, when I drone the E string, I have to do exactly the opposite. I have to scoot my finger away from the E string, right up against the D string, so that the E string has lots of room to vibrate. Now the mark I get on my finger is right here. For starters, the first song that I'd like to do is Short and Bread with drones. And in this case, we'll be droning the A and E strings. Now when playing these drones, it's very important, it's critical in fact, that your first finger is in the mirror position and is very upright. If your finger is coming at the string at a sideways angle, there's no way you'll be able to play a drone without bumping the adjacent string. The beginning of this tune is fairly straightforward, but when you get to this section where you're playing second finger and first finger on the A string, you'll play the E with it. So your second finger and your first finger will be right up against the D string to allow the E lots of room. When you first try this, you might get this sound from your finger touching the E string. Now with Boil 'em Cabbage Down, we're playing the higher of the two strings as the drone string. So you'll have to come up and over the open drone string. So my fingers, I'm playing second finger on the A string, and my fingers are right up against that D string to give the E lots of room to vibrate. So when you first learn this, you can just play the E open all the way. But as you get better at this, then you'll want to change the second double stop. Instead of, those are a little dissonant, and it's better if you take your first finger and you place it on the E string. So, but this is tricky. Before you even attempt this, let me warn you that most people that I've taught this to end up going, you can see that the first finger is flatting. For whatever reason, that feels right, but you can tell that's way out of tune. So instead, my first finger pivots across from the A string to the E string. You can see how the direction of the joint of my finger is changing there. This takes a bunch of practice to get this. So to practice it, play 2 and open, squish your third finger against your second, and twist your first across. 2 and open, squish, twist. 2 and open, squish, twist. Now on the B part, recall that I asked you to leave your first finger down through the whole B part except for the very end. That's because for that double stop, where we're playing second finger on the G string and first finger on the D. And here they switch over to the A string and you play open E with it. Now here with Cripple Creek, oftentimes in a song, playing drones through the whole thing doesn't sound so great. Like the beginning of this, if I were to drone it, would be, I don't know, it seems a little thick to me. So I played the very beginning of that with single string, and then drone this. That's first finger on the D string and open A, and on A and E. So that last half again was 1 D, open A, and E. And then the whole B part sounds good droned. 1 on the D and open A, back to 2 and... In Angelina Baker, I'm droning the lower of the two strings. So the melody is on the higher of the two, and the drone string is on the lower. And that's the way it works out in this key, which is in the key of D. So basically, every time the melody is on the A string, I drone the D with it. So becomes And Cindy drones is just like Angelina Baker. It's in the key of D, so you'll be flipping back and forth between the D and the A string drone. The one spot to watch out for on Soldier's Joy is on the B part. Sounds a lot better to play instead of. So make sure you stay on the A and E strings all the way through until the very last note. Then the D. That'll go best with the chords. Old Joe Clark culminates in using both of the different pairings, so the higher and the lower. And also we have this nasty little change is complicated. And so this one, all of these tunes get fairly heavy if you drone all the way through. And so on this last tune, I tried to demonstrate how you can go in and out of the drones, and it creates a little bit more variation, more interest that way. So good luck with your drones. One of my favorite aspects about fiddling is the freedom to improvise. I love to mess with the melody and the rhythm. Making up my own bowing is one of the ways that I improvise. Unlike classical violinists, fiddlers have complete freedom to come up with their own combination of slurs and single bowed notes. However, before becoming free to explore bowing improvisation, I believe it's important for you to master down-driven bowing. Down-driven bowing is playing down bows on the notes that fall on the beat. Because of gravity, your down bows are going to be a little bit stronger than your up bows. Because of this, your down bows will have a slight accent. It sounds better to put that accent on the notes that fall on the beat than on the notes that don't fall on the beat. I'll use a tune called Devil's Dream to illustrate my point. This tune is solid eighth notes all the way through the whole tune except for the last note, which is a quarter note. If I start on a down bow, my down bows will all land on the beat throughout the whole tune. Once I'm right on the beat. And if I play it fast, you'll hear it has really good drive. Now if I play that opposite so that the up bows land on the beat, it'll have kind of an off-kilter kind of sound. The accent will be on notes that aren't on the beat, and it'll sound like this. You can hear that sounds, well, goofy. So now in order to get this, I highly recommend that you explore tapping your foot with this. You can imagine that your foot and your bow are together, that they're tied together. So when your foot goes up, your bow goes up. So it'll look like this. Now, Devil's Dream was solid eighth notes all the way through the entire song. Once I started on a down bow, I continued to stay with my down bows on the beat through the entire tune. But now, most fiddle tunes have a more complex rhythm than that. Take, for instance, Bonaparte's Retreat. With Bonaparte's Retreat, if I start on a down bow on the beat and play through the entire tune without any bow direction changes, you'll notice that my down bows are opposite of the beat about half the time. So, starting on the beat, whoops, I'm backwards. Down on the beat again. Still cool. Whoops, backwards. So what I need to do is put in some kind of bow direction change. And I can do that by doing a bow reset. Or I can do it by putting in a slur. And I can do that slur after the quarter note. Quarter, slur up. And I'm still on the beat. Quarter, slur up. I could put the slur in with the eighth note that comes before the quarter note. Slur up, down, slur up, down. Either one I do equally much when I play my own fiddle music. For now, carefully memorize the bowing for all of the tunes that are in Volume 1 and Volume 2 of my American Fiddle Method. It has been my experience that people who have memorized the written bowings somewhere around the middle of Volume 2 have down-driven bowing become second nature to them. Then they can automatically put in corrective slurs where they're needed. Then they have the fundamental skills to begin to explore artistic slurring. So with country waltz, there are 3 slurs in the A part and 3 slurs in the B part. Right here, up, then down on the beat. So now, in preparation for that long slur, when you play the open E, make sure your bow goes all the way to the tip. Tip, slur. Then you can use your whole bow, otherwise you'll run out of bow. Then on the B part, there's a triplet here. So that'll be up, down. So up, down. Up, down. Down, up, down. Now, Red-Haired Boy is a great example of slurring after the quarter note. You notice quarter, then slur, quarter, slur, quarter, slur, slur, slur. Now we just finished with the down bow, so if we're about to start the A part again, we're on an up bow, so we'll need to slur to keep our down bows on the beat. No slur because we're on a down bow. Down, up, down. Slur. Slur. Just finished with the down bow. Now we're ready to start the B part, and we're all set to go on an up bow, so we got a slur. Slur. Cool. And here we don't need a slur because we're set for a down bow. But here we do. Now on Girl I Left Behind Me, there are also 3 slurs on the A part and 3 slurs on the B part. Slur. 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 Then the B part, now this one, kind of a long slur, so to prepare for that, let's go to, make sure you go to the tip when you play the low second finger on the E string. Tip, slur, up. Slur, slur. In Southwind, here I'm slurring 3 notes. I don't necessarily have to put that slur in there to keep the bow on the beat. However, it sounds really good, so I'm adding these 3 notes there. It seems to go really well with the tune. So that's a lot of, there are 3 long notes, 3 quarter notes. So I need a lot of bow in preparation. Really go to the tip there, then you have to go up. Slur, here. Slur. Then the B part. Slur this. Slur. Slur. 1, 2, 3, 1. Slur this. triplet, all on a down bow. Now, the beginning of Red Wing, if you start this with potatoes, the first note is a pickup note, a single pickup note to the beat. So that has to be up, up, down, which is a little strange when you put the potatoes in the beginning. 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a up, up, which means we're playing 2 up bows in a row. And a 3, and a up, up. You can really feel the rhythm in this tune really well, how it goes with the bow. All of the sections start with up bow pickups. Up, down, up, down, up, up. And then this triplet. So it's first finger to the low second. And the open A is by itself. And that connection from the first half of the A part to the second half of the A part is a little bit strange. 2, 3, 2, 3. Then the B part. Now we start working with staccato slurs. And a staccato slur is basically a slur that is broken. So instead of, no, if I didn't put any kind of slurs at all in the B part, it would sound like this. Yeah, it sounds okay. It sounds all right. But check out what it sounds like when I put in these staccato slurs. So they're 2 up bows in a row. It adds a lot of really nice rhythm. So in the B part, there are 6 up bow staccato slurs. So it's down, up, up. Down, up, up. Down, up, up. Down, up, up. Then the ending. Put your first finger on the A string and low second finger on the E string. Then I do a rocking chord. As I do that, I start right near the frog, and by the time I've gone maybe 2 inches in my bow, I'm already on the A and E. As opposed to, or, make sure you go right to the A and E early on, and lots of good gravel in the little in the beginning. Now with K-row, there are a couple of tricky little spots. In the very beginning, I'm doing a bow reset. So I'm playing a short down bow, and then lifting it up, doing a little bow circle, putting it back down right next to the frog. If you do a bow reset and you land in the middle, you'll have a bounce. So instead, return to the frog each time. Good, so after that section, stop, then continue up. Up, down, down. So, stop, up. Then this spot is a lot easier if you have left your first finger down on the E string. So, stop, up, leave your first finger, do a pivot, then let's do that phrase one more time. Stop, up, leave your first finger, get it, off. Next part. Stop, up. Then the beat part's a piece of cake. To get here, just the only thing is that you want to start the second beat part on an up bow, which means you'll be doing 2 up bows in a row. The last up bow of the first A part and the first note of the second B part will be up bow. Up, up, and so on. Now, Turkey in a Straw has a few spots to watch out for. Slur up. This is a situation where, as opposed to Bonaparte's Retreat and Red-Haired Boy, where we did the corrective slur after the quarter note, in this case we're putting in the corrective slur just before the quarter note. That's a quarter note right there. Instead of, you could slur after, like that, or what's written in the book is slur up, slur down, slur up. In the second 8 part, you'll have to start on a bow slur, and so on. Then, when we get to the B part, you could just play this back and forth bow. But check this out. Has a lot more interesting rhythm that way with these staccato slurs. So it will be down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Let's do that again. One more time. Then for the next section, the low second finger to the fourth finger is a big stretch. And you'll use the same bowing. Down, up, down, up, down. Again. Down, up, down. One more. Down, up, down. Putting them together. Good. Now I just did a bow reset. You probably saw me take my bow off the string there. Instead of doing that, let's stop the bow on the last note of the very first part and then continue with the down bow for the first note of the second part. Stop, go. Let's do that again. Stop, go. This time we'll have, instead of doing a stop, we'll slur them together. Slur. Let's do that again. Slur. Playing it slow like this at this speed is awkward, but playing it fast, it really lays out well with this bowing. Then we just finished with the down bow, so we're on an up bow ready to complete the B part. So we need to slur. Slur up. With grandfather's clock now, we're introduced to the high third finger. Let's do some exercises to start exploring that. First, let's play on the D string. 1, 2, 3. Let's do that again. Good. Now between the third finger and the fourth finger, there's a note. That's right there. It's the high third finger. This is a G, this is an A, that's a G sharp. So, big stretch. Do the low 3. Now the high 3. And if you're playing the fourth finger squishes against that high third finger. So grandfather's clock has high third fingers all over the place. Low 3. High 3. And so on. Wise old friend again uses a lot of high third fingers. There's one. B part. This part's a little tricky. It's easier if you keep in mind that one note is descending this note is descending, followed by high third fingers and open A's in between. So 3, 2, 1, open, 3. So you hear with the high threes in between. Slur, going from high 3 on the G string to first finger on the D. All right, with Stinky's Blues, there are a few spots to watch out for. Like the very beginning, being able to play that quickly. Just take little bitty bow strokes and you'll be able to do it. And so we have a third finger to low second finger. Slur up. Slur up. Low 2 here. High 2 there. Low. High. 1, 2, 3, 4. High there. Low. High. This spot here is descending in chromatic half steps. So third finger, high second, low second, and first finger. And then you can place your first finger over both the D and A strings right in the middle, push down firmly so you get both strings, and you get that double stop. Then that part's pretty easy. You'll get that, I'm sure. And then the next section, high third fingers, high, then low, high, low. Then the D part, high second finger, low second finger, high 3, Again, first finger on the D string, high 3, low 3, high, slur up. One other thing I want to point out is the feeling of this tune is a little bit different. It's a blues, and it has a little bit of a swingy rhythm to the bow. Da 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 da. Not quite a dotted rhythm, but almost. As opposed to a square. So, and if you notice my bowing while I'm doing that, you'll notice that the down bows are slightly longer than the up bows. The up bows are a little quicker to cover the ground that the down bow is taking. Down, up. Da 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 da. And so throughout the whole song you can add that swingy bow. As opposed to, there's no swing and here's swing. Great. Some styles of fiddling, such as Irish, old-time Appalachian, and New England styles, the fiddle rarely plays anything but the melody. However, in styles such as bluegrass, western swing, country, and blues, the fiddle takes turns taking solos with the other instruments in the jam. When not playing the melody, the fiddler can add to the group by playing backup. To do this, it's necessary to know all of the chords in the tunes. If you learn the chords to the tunes you can play any style of fiddle music. Knowing chords will also help you when you improvise. Although there are many double stop combinations that can work for a chord, I choose ones that are lower in the fiddle's range so as to stay out of the way of the soloist. So that would be the G, D, and A strings. For now, memorize one double stop combination for each of the chords listed in the backup section of Volume 1. Each of the chord changes is listed above the notation of the tune. I would recommend playing either long bow or chunk rhythm over the chord changes. So with long bow backup, you don't really have a rhythm, except for when you change the chord. For instance, here's Boil 'em Cabbage Down. And for playing chunks, you'll be doing sharp down bows on the offbeat. So if you're tapping your foot when your toe is in the air. So Boil 'em Cabbage Down with chunks would sound like this. Notice how different that sounds if I drop my bow in the middle of the bow. Sounds really weak and bouncy. Or another common thing is to set your bow down first and play like that. And it doesn't quite have the percussive drop that smacking it by the frog does. Notice I'm dropping the bow right about at the edge of my grip, right almost over my index finger. Good. And one other thing to watch out for is making sure that this doesn't happen. You can hear that I'm playing my chunks on the beat. That's very square. It sounds like a march. And we want Now let's practice doing backup with some other tunes. thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've learned something new. So, practice hard, practice smart, and I hope to see you again. Take care.
The companion book and CD to this video is The American Fiddle Method Volume 1. The next in the series, Volume 2 book and CD, is also available. Brian's critically acclaimed debut recording, Arrival, features Brian and some of bluegrass music's top musicians. All of this and more is available from Brian Wickland Music, P.O. Box 67, Marine on St. Croix, Minnesota, 55047. Or order products, hear about new releases, and keep up with Brian's performance and workshop schedule at www.brianwickland.com.